Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our webinar on the best practices to optimize your service delivery and customer value with field service management software. My name is Andrew Brethauer, and I'll be moderating this webinar today. We are here to talk about the challenges in today's increasingly complex service landscape. We're at a very exciting time of change and innovation in the field service space, but this can be a bit overwhelming for companies when they are sorting through their initiatives. So I'm first going to start with a little bit about Fieldpoint. We're a leading provider of end-to-end field service management, and we're unique because we manage the full spectrum of service lifestyle management, including customer and mobile workforce management and asset warranty management with integrations to your favorite CRM, ERP, and accounting systems. We have been experts in the field service management for over 16 years, and we are involved in a variety of industries such as HVAC and refrigeration, industrial equipment, fire and life safety, IT services and telecom, medical devices, and many more. We have hundreds of customers spanning across North America, and we help with our customers with positive business outcomes, and therefore we have one of the highest customer retention rates in the industry. Speaking today is Mike Mance, our VP Product Development. Mike has been in the business for 25 years and has been involved in product innovation and development, supporting services, and has developed key messaging for customers and partner marketing initiatives. If you do have any questions during the webinar, please feel free to ask them in the chat box, and at the end we'll answer as many questions as we can. Mike?
Thanks, Andrew. Good afternoon, everybody. Mike Mance here. Challenges. Today we want to break down the challenges in service into four main areas: people, processes, deliverables, and data. Well, when we talk about people here, we want to talk about the service level demand of each of them: the customer's demands, technician's demands, and subcontractors' demands. Processes. When we say processes, we're talking about the challenges that exist in the various departments, like the people that do quoting and work orders, projects, installation jobs, contracts. Deliverables, meaning the day-to-day challenges that each department within the service organization must execute on. Field service management, project job costing.
I didn't send it. That's what they sent. Let me forward this to you. Yeah, I clicked. No. Oh, then the website. I just had to type it back in again. Yeah.
So if anybody's got some feedback on the phone, if you could please mute your phone from there. Okay. Processes. We were talking about that. Deliverables, field service management, execution of those things, and then lastly, the data. So not only do we need to consume and study our own, but we need to accommodate data from outside sources. So those are the four main areas. Let's dive in a little deeper on people. Customers, technicians, contractors, they all make choices. The easier we can assign and align those choices, the more successful we're going to be. Let's see what we mean when we say retention, faster processing, and streamlined relationships. We found you have to be able to open a call from the phone, emails, customer self-service. And over here, what we've done lately is we've changed the way it looks, the listing. We call them now grids of all our customers. So it's even easier now to create a customer portal, incorporate escalations and workflows to this. So now you can build your portals for customers be able to filter in all these columns, and they can even do them themselves if they so desire. But there'll also be a capability to take that, chart that data as well. You'll be seeing that as we move along. So what we're seeing here is also, as customers start building their own call management systems, what you'll be seeing is the requirement for their call system to talk to your call system. And we've been starting to do this kind of thing, and we do this with the new tool called Fieldpoint Data Transfer Services, and we'll be talking more about that. Let's talk about text and faster processing. What we said about customers can be said for text. We see that a tech needs also a portal access. And as we know today, the challenge is when the technician doesn't have a mobile, a laptop, or that type of device, having access through a mobile device that's disconnected is very important. They also need to be communicated to, and they need to communicate to you. So having the ability to create escalations when calls are falling behind, or implementing a workflow so that they can move a call from one status to the other, whether it's a part on hold, whether it's a customer you can't access the site, and deal with things like that. So that's why we've created, to help this, is access online through a portal, as well as the mobile device. Now we have a third component that's becoming more of a challenge now with the various, with service departments, when we talk about people, is we're integrating the subcontractors. If you really want your subs to be an extension of your organization, then you need to treat them the same way as your techs or your customers. They also need to have access to all the calls that you've assigned to them through a portal. You need to be able to escalate calls to them, even to the point when you're first assigning them. If they don't respond within a certain time, you need to notify them again until you've exhausted that and you've got to move on. Also, dealing with subcontractors would have its own workflow, from assigning the technician, the subcontractor rather, having them call you when they arrive, and have them being able to give you issues around additional part requirements and things like that. All can be done like an extension of any employee. So we have this here as well as your customers and technicians. And that's what we mean by addressing the challenges that we're dealing with, the different people aspects of our ecosystem, and how we can help you solve that. And that's really the first section on people. Next, we talk about processes. Typically, service organizations need to master these four: quoting, work orders, creating installation jobs, and contracts. What I call really the documents within a service organization. They each have their own individual process, and each way they have to collect their own components of data. Let's look at the first one, quoting. There's lots of great quoting systems out there, and we ourselves have integrated to many. But we also found that our customers need the option of a built-in capability. And I'll tell you why. Let's take working on a quote where you need to incorporate not only the customer, but we also need to start incorporating a subcontractor on the same quote. So the challenge then becomes, when it's an outside system, is converting a quote to a work order, or vice versa, being a technician being on site on a work order, and to quote any other services that need to be done to finish the job. So you need to create a quote against the work order. So you can see that quotation becomes an integral part of either doing the quote in the front end or having a quote while you're there. So that's why we've taken on the ability to incorporate both the customer quotation side and, when needed, the subcontractor. Like you'll see over here on this quote item section here, that we in fact can enter your vendor cost, apply a multiplier, basically whatever vendor agreement you have, and come up with your own unit cost, which then you can apply, as you see over here, a possible customer schedule that will apply the various pricing to uplift that. So you can see that's all incorporated within the quote. So there's these challenges of quoting a customer, converting into work if it's accepted, being on site, and then having the issue of quoting them at that point because you need more parts or labor to finish the job. Then we have both sides of it, and they can go both ways. So that's what we call a document, and as you can see, we start talking about processes and components of what you have to hold on the work order, on the quote. Next, the work order. Yes, for most service organizations, this is the center of the universe. With any work order, this document, as they call it, the process is, it involves connecting parts to the work order, dispatching resources, expenses, and then ultimately billing the customer. So you need a work order system that can gather all those separate components, total it up, manage the workflow around it, whether the part is available in inventory. If not, how do we create a purchase order? How do we confirm ETA to the part delivery, that workflow, in combination with coordinating and scheduling resources, can all be done or should be done, or it becomes very challenging from a centralized work order system. You should be able to access that centrally. That's the work order. Installation projects. You'll see that here it doesn't really look like a work order. It's really taking a work order to another level, and that's what we call the project document. Work orders, short duration, projects, typically long duration. The complexity of inventory control, equipment acquisition, the delivery of that equipment, and getting paid is at a challenge even above the work order. Again, having all the components in one place for tracking budgets and actuals is paramount. By the way, you can combine a work order with a project when you're doing a rollout to many locations, so they can have their own dispatch and install schedule. And as you can see here, the challenge with projects is you have many tasks, many resources coming in and coming and going at different times, subcontractors, of course, and that type of thing. So that's why here at Fieldpoint, we've created this as a different process, a different document, but holding all the components together. That's projects and some of the challenges and how we address it. The last one is contracts, the contract document. If you're selling a lot of service agreements with service pricing, multiple lines, with different PM schedules on every line, and you may have to do compliance reporting, you got your hands full here. So that's why we built a fully featured system at Fieldpoint, including even, if you see over here, vouchers on the top right for paying subcontractors. So as we know, not all line items on a contract may be serviced by you. You may have a subcontractor doing it. So again here, when we're trying to track all the billing scenarios, how we're trying to track all the PM schedules, tracking the revenue recognitions, defining the service levels or SLAs per line item, doing proration, you really need its own document, its own workflow, and its own process to really accommodate that. So that's where we've covered kind of the people side, the processes, the documents. Now we're moving into the deliverables. And here's where we talk about deliverables of field service management, project job costing, PM schedules, customer billing. Let's look at field service management. Now that we have the work order, we've confirmed the service level agreements back in the processes. Probably confirmed the customer's asset configurations. Now you need to get a tech out there. So the challenge is, it may be easy when there's just a few techs, but as the numbers grow, you'll need a good resource scheduling tool. When you're dealing with 20, 30, 50 techs, they're all in different places at different times. You'll need to know where they are, where they need to be through a calendaring and dispatching process, have access to the skills maps where they happen to be at the time to figure out who and when is available. And you'll see on the right side here at Fieldpoint, when you're handling all these balls in the air, you need good reporting tools and dashboards to keep you on pulse of all the priorities, commitments, the notifications, messages that have been going back and forth between you and the tech and the customer, keeping them informed, especially when there's, as we know, changes in the repair timeline and if there are any part issues. So those need to be addressed. And the only way to do that is to have good analytical tools, whether they're doing this in a character-based format or graphically to aggregate things. Those capabilities will help you meet those challenges and know what's going on. Have the system tell you that. Ultimately, of course, getting the right text, the right parts, there at the right time. Classical statement. When it comes to the installation project, it becomes a bigger challenge with the planning of resources, especially in the future. Is that the present seems to catch up with you very quickly. With changes to the original schedule is pretty common. Doesn't take much for a part delay, a project task to take longer than expected. So here at Fieldpoint, we designed a resource planning tool where you can assign the work, but you can also see the actual work and any conflicts that seem to be arising. So you can resolve them immediately. As well as within an individual project, you can see the multiple tasks through a project Gantt chart as well. So the basis is here is to really understand where the resources are, where they're already assigned, and as things change, as they get closer to those future dates, being able to quickly do adjustments, reassignments, and visually see where you are even within the project. That's one aspect of the delivery process and helping deliver that project. The next one is, as the project is active and you're expending resources, accessing subcontractors, working with parts, and making sure those parts are delivered, job costing is always a challenge. It takes discipline and constant tracking. We put in budgets for a reason, but so many of us lack the access to timely, actual data. That's why you need, again, a reporting tool like we've done here in Fieldpoint to automatically show you variances. When things are going good, we don't need to know about them as much as when they're going differently than what we expected, especially in terms of cost, revenue, and margin. So we need a system that can quickly tell you exactly where you are based on your budgets. You can see things like known costs that you've absorbed so far, hours to complete. On this lower area here, showing you where the variances are in margin, and so on. All these tools, these are samples, can all be customized further to your requirements. The last section, after we've done our field service, our projects, we have contracts. So we've collected all the billing information, all the services we're going to provide. So you've signed a maintenance contract with your client. Now it's time to execute. The challenge is to make sure PM work orders are created, scheduled, and then completed. It may require specific steps and checklists, or produce an output as a compliance report based on that checklist. That's why Fieldpoint contracts track a complete schedule for each line on the contract and automatically create those work orders for you with the right task list to get the job done. Like many service companies, your customers are all on different billing schedules as well. So how do you make sure the invoices are created on all these different dates? With Fieldpoint, the bill dates are all maintained within the contract. So all you have to do is run the billing program and it sends out the invoices to the customer. So when you've taken on a volume of customers and a volume of contracts, that challenge of getting them billed and getting the work done that you committed to in this agreement, you need tools like this to automate that process and make it effective. Our last deliverable, customer billing. Well, when it comes to customer billing, if your pricing and costing methods are very simple, then to generate an accurate invoice, it's not very time consuming. But if your pricing for parts and services are elaborate, then making sure pricing is accurate and consistently applied can be a challenge. To complicate things, you may be getting quotes from your subcontractors where you have to apply markups and then again apply customer pricing. That's why you can see here, we've done both sides of the equation. That's why at Fieldpoint, customer and vendor pricing tools automatically calculate the cost and apply the appropriate discounts. So here, as you can see, you can have a whole vendor agreement regarding pricing, mark up those values to come up with your cost, and then, as you can see here on the left, have a price schedule applied. So this alleviates all the administration. You've made some administration of this after you've made some great deals with either your vendor or customer. This kind of tool gives you the ability to execute it when all the work orders and projects are done. The invoice will be accurate more consistently. So let's look at the next section. After we talk about deliverables, our last section here, which we call data. We include the business analytics within service, but also we have to talk about financial integration, inventory, purchasing, payroll, as sources for your data from service, and also destinations coming back from the financials. Like most service organizations, a lot of that data lives outside the service wheelhouse and can be a challenge to integrate with. We've talked a lot about the analytics part, but first, I really want to our audience here to understand that the analytics have to be throughout the service system, not just one component. All the different components that we've been talking about have a reason to be analyzed and supported through this process. That's why we've created this analytical engine to look at the organization across, and things like analyzing your service level commitments, whether they've been successful or not over a period of time, looking at your trends of that, looking at part usage within contracts, part usage generally, to analyze what kind of volume discounts we may want to achieve from our vendors by analyzing that data. Contracts are great, complex agreements are great, but they've got to be profitable. So you need to know all the work orders, all the projects that you've done against the contract, and make sure that makes sense still. Resource utilization is also an important aspect to understand how you're using your resources, your different skills that they have, are you using them effectively? So data analytics is a challenge for every organization, so you need strong tools that give you the flexibility to analyze wherever you want to be. Financial integrations. Connecting your service data to financial systems yourself is not only time-consuming, but very costly. There is not only a customer and product to match things up, but we also need to send over invoices, inventory transactions, timesheets, subcontractor payments. This is pretty complex stuff when you're trying to move those kind of interactions into your financial systems. For smaller companies, again, manually entering transactions into financials is an option. But for service organizations with a number of technicians, this becomes quite onerous. At Fieldpoint, we always believe that field service software should be integrated to corporate inventory, purchasing, and financial systems. So that's why today we provide an out-of-the-box integration to Microsoft Dynamics GP, NetSuite, and a small collection of others. Our customers tell us this is one of the biggest factors in helping them add more text to their business without adding the administration costs that go with that. Financial integration. Not only are we talking about financial integration, but there are integration points to other systems that are always more and more a challenge. There's more and more demand to share and integrate data to systems that are outside your organization. This means you need a field service system that can talk to others in a standard and simple way. That's why we've created Fieldpoint's data transfer service. It's a software tool that allows us to accelerate our capability to integrate outside systems. This is especially true when you look at over here on the customer side, when we're talking about the large retailers out there that implement their own case management systems to deal with service providers like you. And this is happening at a faster rate than ever. This is back to the scenario where your customers are entering service requests in their systems, and they expect to be able to channel that service request system into your field service system, because they feel that they can attract those kind of service providers. There's cost to be saved for everyone, and that's what makes a better partner. So as you can see here, we have some of these industry standard systems that a lot of your customers may be using. On the other side here on the right, you'll see that, in fact, we see our customers wanting to integrate to subcontractor systems. So a subcontractor may have their own field service system. So maybe they're the feet on the street, you're logging the work order and you're passing it to them, expecting them to do the field service dispatch. And as you can see, for those subcontractors that don't have their own system, they're using or signed up with marketplaces like Work Market, where they're trying to find work. So we have implemented Fieldpoint or integrated that as well to a marketplace like that, where you can then search out subcontractors as needed and apply them to the jobs. And then there's others like tax systems and things like that. And then the other one that everybody's talking about these days is IoT. Not only do we have people logging service requests, but we have machines alerting us of troubles. So the challenge is having a good integration tool to accept those messages from those machines and open service calls there as well. So that's basically our story. As you can see here, we've tried to explain all the different people that are involved in the service process and all their various requirements and touch points that they need to have to work with you, all the different documents that are required to execute the field service process, the tools to execute as deliverables on those particular areas like quoting and work orders. How do we dispatch people? How do we make sure they get the information back to us, close the calls, do our billing? And then once all these operational things have been done, how do we analyze our data and how do we move some of that data into the rest of our organization when it comes to the financial system, updating inventory, creating purchase orders, and so on and so on. So that's all we've got really to say today.
So we do got a few questions. So we're going to get into those. If you do have any other questions, use the chat feature and just submit them and we'll read them out and Mike will answer. Our first question is going to be, can PM tasks have separate service schedules, i.e. quarterly, annually, cleaning inspections?
Absolutely, that's a great question. They, like I said, each service that you provide on a contract line can have its own PM schedule. And the PM schedule doesn't have to be for that line, once a month only, you do this task. You could have another task under that line that says every quarter we change the filter. So absolutely, there's multiple schedules under a line, and they all automatically create the work orders for you. Great, thank you.
Next question would be, do you think the industry is ready for a shift to a more reactive rather than predictive model?
For the shift to be predictive service to be successful, the key is achieving real-time operations. The transition to having real-time understanding of a job status, technician location, and device condition is transformative for field service organizations. In particular, understanding real-time operations is crucial for minimizing asset downtime. The migration to predictive service plays into a second opportunity for field service organizations into the next year, 2018, which is better utilizing today's technologies to address customer expectations and demands. Thank you.
And our last question would be, can you tell us more about how implementing a field service software would help increase revenue streams in the long run?
Thank you for the question. For many service organizations, the inability to generate expected profit is a driver to evaluating new software. If service is affecting product sales, then improved service operations can help fix that. Increasing investment into your business to drive revenue rather than focus on cost cutting enables improved revenue and profitability. Investing in a new field service management software opens opportunities for increased field worker referrals, better customer satisfaction, improve the quote cycle and capture up the upsell opportunities, improve planning and forecasting as we've been talking about, decreasing time to cash with faster billing cycles, and improved customer interactions.
So that seems to be the questions we have. So we'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. We appreciate your time. A recording of this webinar will be made available. And if you have any remaining questions or you'd like a full demonstration of our software, please feel free to contact us. So take care, everybody, and have a good day.